Charlie was a committed evangelical who only liked Catholic architecture. Did I lie about that? Nope. Turning Point USA lied about that. And I was attacked for telling me, I'm attacked for catching the lies. We'll get to that later. That's their new method. Once first they accuse me of lying, then I prove I'm not lying. And then their strategy is to attack me for telling the truth.
I'm not going to recant because I don't have to. I'm not a Catholic.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I don't really care if you were offended, right? Because I'm not a Catholic. Because I'm not a Catholic. Because I'm not a Catholic. Because I'm not a Catholic.
An honest, like, oh, we were talking about Catholicism, and they all started making videos saying it's absolutely not true. Charlie never flirted with it. They knew, Turning Point knew that Charlie was going to mass, sometimes daily. They knew he was praying the rosary. They knew that Erica took a priest to pray over his body when he died. So you have to ask the question, why lie?
I'm not going to recant because I don't have to. I'm not a Catholic.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I don't really care if you were offended, right? Because I'm not a Catholic. So, because I'm not a Catholic. Because I'm not a Catholic. Because I'm not a Catholic. And I love Catholics, and I actually defend Catholicism every day, and I, meet with fellow, priests in my area, and I love them. They're actually agreed with me when they, I said the Marxist thing. You will know more about it than I will. I'm just going to point you to other Catholic thinkers that have made that accusation. Thank you very much.
And so you've had the churches in Europe, whether it be the Catholic Church or the Protestant churches, they have stripped themselves of true theology. And the Catholic Church in Europe is as guilty as this of anyone else. You've had this progressive, weak, wishy-washy, liberal gospel being preached by, every pastor under the sun. And then you've got this religion which crops up, which shows affirmative action, absolute strength. These are the tenets which appeal to young men, particularly in Europe, and of course in the Middle East, but predominantly in Europe. A lot of the radicalism within Europe is now homegrown. It's not being imported, it's being homegrown. And so this is the key, driving force, is the fact that theology, like Christianity in Europe, has been stripped of its actual truth, its eternal truth. And that's not to say that, okay, there would be no conversion to Islam if Christianity was standing on its own 2 feet. But it's definitely the case that if you look at the UK, for example, you've got this progressive, weak Anglican church, which is basically saying that, left-wing politics is good, and, the predominant role of the church is to care about the environment and, all this kind of nonsense. And actually, of course, people don't just want a social gospel. They want eternal truth, and they want real faith. They want to be told, this is how you should live your life, right? This is the real meaning of life. It's not just about, the environment and net zero and whatever else that we're coming out with.
What you're talking about is really just the absence of authority and structure, and people actually crave that in the end. It reminds me of when I hosted Andrew Tate. I want to say it was a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year, but he similarly said, I pressed him on why he left Christianity. Yeah. And the answer he gave, which was very interesting for me to consider, was he basically said Christianity became weak, and Christians don't defend themselves. They allow people to disrespect Jesus Christ, and how are people supposed to be drawn to something that has been weak? And obviously startling, upsetting to hear, but he is echoing, I think, what you are speaking to, which is that there does need to be a return to a truer faith.